I don't distrust you because you're a woman. I distrust you because you're not as smart as you think you are.
Yup. A hero is only as good as the villain. For decades, TV shows, movies, comics, and more have lived by this rule. Batman versus the Joker, Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty, politicians versus fact-checkers. This dynamic is essential to quality storytelling. However, one show that managed to shuck this rule was Game of Thrones. By coloring the characters numerous shades of gray, the show manages to make you fully understand and sometimes sympathize with the shady, politically motivated moves that they make. Now, that's not to say that the world of Westeros hasn't given us some incredibly compelling characters who often lean more towards a villainous role. Whether it's the cold but politically savvy and undeniably badass Tywin Lannister,
perhaps we'd profit from some sleep.
As I think you would, Reginald. And because you're my cousin, I might even let you wake from that sleep.
the over-the-top but very fun to hate Joffrey Baratheon, or the sometimes cartoonishly villainous Ramsay Bolton. Game of Thrones typically subverted expectations by avoiding the "I'm evil for the sake of being evil" bad guys, with the exception of the Night King, but that's really not fair to him since the showrunners and HBO made sure to f*** everything up involving that plotline. However, there seems to always be one character who's ranked near or at the top of the best villains list. Unfortunately, this character is also the single most overrated character in Game of Thrones, and that character is Cersei Lannister.
You think I care?
So do that many people really believe that she's a great character?
Well, yes.
Now, if you're a Cersei fan, I'm respectfully asking you to keep an open mind and listen to what I have to say. I might just change your minds.
Of course, if you're not interested, there's the door.
All right, thanks.
Huh.
With that being said, let's get into it. First things first, I just want to say that I'm not hating on the actress. Lena Headey, or Headey, however y'all pronounce it, is such a talented actress that she's to blame for the love that people give Cersei. She took a character that was so shallow and one note and gave her the appearance of having so much more depth than she actually has. Seriously, go read the book version of Cersei. She's a literal disgusting sociopath. Side note, I encourage everyone to just look up any time that she went on Conan. Her interviews were always some of my favorites.
I'm trying to put you at ease because I've heard you really don't like doing talk shows. It makes you very nervous. Is that right?
I'm terrified right now.
And I've got 4 guns.
You know, my gun can't really shoot that far.
Yeah.
That's what they all say.
She always just came across as so sweet and genuinely funny. But enough nice words. Let's rip this character apart. So what makes a character overrated? Typically, a character is considered overrated when the facts surrounding them don't validate or justify the mass appeal and outpouring of love they receive. When scanning any video that talks about the best villains in Game of Thrones, the narrator will always go on about why Cersei is so great, mentioning her intelligence, forward thinking, ability to adapt, and her redeeming quality of being a good mother. What if I told you she's not smart, she's lucky, and she's not forward thinking, she's small-minded? These 2 points go hand in hand, so let's just tackle them both together. To start, let's just take a look at some of her so-called plans. Plan number 1, getting Robert so drunk that he would die while hunting. Now I know what you're all gonna say, but that plan worked. Yes, it did. That still doesn't make it a smart plan. Think of Robert Baratheon. This man loved whoring around, getting drunk, eating, hunting, and Ned Stark. Now think of his mindset. He was pissed off about the fight between Ned and Jaime Lannister. Cersei didn't orchestrate that move. Ned took a metaphorical bullet for his wife because she arrested Tyrion after trusting the word of Littlefinger. Yes, I know it's stupid. Yes, I know Cat basically f***ed up the entire Stark family, but that's a whole different topic for a different video. So yeah, Jaime shows up to demand his brother back, Ned takes the blame, they fight, Ned gets cheap-shotted, and Jaime knocks out that idiot for robbing us of an all-time great duel. So Robert goes off hunting to clear his head, meaning he's already agitated. Then he starts drinking the tampered wine, goes to spear a boar, misses and gets wrecked. This was bound to happen eventually. Probably years down the road, with Robert not realizing how much his older age was affecting him, but still, it was bound to happen. Cersei just got incredibly lucky that the stars perfectly aligned. Verdict, dumb plan, perfect execution. What about our next plan? Launching jars of wildfire God, this was so stupid. Okay, plan number 2. Launching jars of wildfire at Stannis Baratheon ships from catapults inside the walls. I think I'll just let Bronn explain this one.
If you could get real soldiers to man the catapults, then maybe you'd hit your target 1 time in 10. But all the real soldiers are in the Riverlands with your father. I don't know if you've ever seen a battle, old man, but things can get a bit messy. Because when we're flinging things at Stannis, he's flinging them right back at us. Men die, men themselves, men run, which means pots falling, which means fire inside the walls, which means the poor trying to defend the city end up burning it down. Men win wars, not magic tricks.
She was lucky that Tyrion discovered this plan and intervened. Verdict?
Good idea.
Now I know you're wondering what makes her small-minded, but don't worry, we'll get there. Remember when I said that her being lucky and also being small-minded kind of go hand in hand? Remember when Littlefinger tells her that information is power and then she pretends to have him arrested so that she can just tell him that power is power? Ugh, God. You see, she's not focused on playing the long game.
The Stark boy appears to be less green than we'd hoped.
I've heard his wolf killed a dozen men and as many horses.
Is it true about Stannis and Renly?
Both Baratheon brothers have taken up against us. Jaime captured, his armies scattered. It's a catastrophe. Perhaps we should sue for peace.
We've underestimated the Stark boy for too long. He has a good mind for warfare. His men worship him. As long as he keeps winning battles, they'll keep believing he is king in the north. You've been waiting for him to fail. He is not going to fail. So how do we stop him?
Robb Stark is a child.
Who's won every battle he's fought? He says Renly's army's flocking to support Stannis, which would give Stannis superiority over us on both land and sea.
Littlefinger says we can outspend him 3-1.
They are going to attack us. We need to be ready.
No need to concern yourself over it. The king is taking personal charge of siege preparations.
May I ask specifically what the king has in mind?
You may, specifically, or you may ask vaguely. The answer will be the same.
She only cares about the power that her money and family name have allowed her to attain. And it's not like she earned the title of queen. The marriage was set up for her. Now let's go to her next brilliant idea, framing Tyrion for the death of Joffrey. Now, to be fair, was there some kind of logical basis for her to partially consider that Tyrion maybe poisoned Joffrey? Sure, these two hated each other. But her ass knew that Tyrion didn't really do it. She just wanted it to be true. She prayed for it to be true, but deep down she knew that he didn't do it. Because if she truly thought that he did it, that alone makes her the most idiotic character in all of Westeros. She had her eyes on Joffrey and Tyrion throughout the entire fucking wedding. At what fucking point would he have had a second to poison the wine? Go back and watch. There is no window of time where Tyrion could have pulled a Cosby and spiked the drink, okay? None. But by allowing her small-minded hatred of him to blind her judgment, she literally ignored a much more obvious candidate in Oberyn Martell, a man who studied poisons, was nicknamed the Red Viper, and who literally hates their family and had just thrown some major shade at her in the same fucking episode.
Bastards are born of passion, aren't they? We don't despise them in Dorne.
No, how tolerant of you.
I expect it is a relief, Lady Cersei. Giving up your regal responsibilities. Wearing the crown for so many years must have left your neck a bit crooked.
Noblemen in my part of the country don't enjoy the same lifestyle as our counterparts in Dorne.
People everywhere have their differences. In some places, the highborn frown upon those of low birth. In other places, the rape and murder of women and children is considered distasteful. What a fortunate thing for you, former Queen Regent. That your daughter Myrcella has been sent to live in the latter sort of place.
If she was actually a smart character, she would have first accused Oberyn, but she didn't, and we all know what the result of the trial was.
Shortly before the Battle of Blackwater Bay, I confronted him about his plans to put Joffrey on the front lines. As it turned out, when the attack came, Joff insisted on remaining at the battlements.
Wrong.
He believed his presence would inspire the troops.
Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Proved over and over again.
Wrong.
Tyrion kills Tywin, escapes with Varys, and just like that, King's Landing and the Lannisters lost 3 of the smartest players in the game, other than Littlefinger. Verdict, stupid. Now let's talk about her next plan. Oh boy. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this gem of an idea. Arming the Faith Militant. I mean, what is there left to say about this idea that hasn't already been said and roasted? Who cares? It's my channel. This plan was so fucking idiotic that it defies basic common sense. She gave power and authority to a group who wanted to go after those with money and power who they had dirt on, while she was someone with money and power who they had dirt on. She knew Lancel Lannister was part of the group. They had been fucking just like what, 2 seasons ago? This plan goes beyond being stupid and small-minded. This plan was microscopically small-minded. And what was the motivation for taking such a gamble?
She's jealous you're not hers anymore. Arresting my brother is her revenge.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tommen was starting to spend more time with Marjorie. You know, his wife. So yeah, as expected, this plan backfires in the most hilarious way possible, her walk of atonement.
And he has much to say about you.
Immediately. You will order her to let me go.
Do not cry!
Of course they took over the city. Of course they turned on her. What good has ever come from arming radical faith-based groups? This shit would have never gone down with Tywin around, and it's directly her fault that he's dead. Let's connect the dots, shall we? Tyrion killed Tywin because Tywin was banging Shae. Shae and Tywin only met after he commanded they bring her to his quarters after the wedding. Tywin did this after Cersei went to him like, "Daddy, Daddy, that's her, that's Tyrion's whore." Shae was willing to turn on Tyrion after he broke up with her to try and keep her safe from Tywin. Tywin only knew about her because Cersei kept tattling on Tyrion. Cersei was trying to mess with Tyrion because he arranged a rather brilliant marriage between Myrcella and Trystane in hopes of keeping her safe should Stannis sack King's Landing and the crown allying with Dorne, something that even Tywin tried to do with Oberyn. Had she been as forward-thinking as everyone claims, then literally none of this would have happened. All she had to do was listen to Tyrion's plan and not care that he was getting some on the side, just like she was doing. But she couldn't do that because of her small-minded hatred for Tyrion.
It's free real estate.
And what's her reason for hating him? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because her mom died while giving birth to him. Yeah, a smart player of the game uses whatever resources are around them. They don't run them out of town because of irrational, misplaced hatred. So yeah, the Faith Militant thing, the verdict, I mean, goddamn, it's so stupid. Okay, so Cersei's been taking some L's. It's time for her to get a win. So let's talk about the Sept of Baelor explosion. We all know what happens. Season 6 may have its faults, but this whole episode is literally a top 10 episode in the series, and I will die on that hill. Cersei orchestrates not only the deaths of the Faith Militant, but also the Tyrells, minus Olenna, and we finally get to see Pycelle go out like the wet old fart he was. So how'd all this happen? How did Cersei go from having the worst plans to having one that's pretty brilliant? Qyburn. You see, Cersei spends the entire first few seasons slowly spiraling as she loses control of King's Landing, and those around her start realizing and acknowledging just how little power she actually has.
I do not recognize your authority to dictate what is and is not my concern. You are the Queen Mother. Nothing more.
It's not until Qyburn comes around that she starts winning. And how did she meet Qyburn? Did she search the lands for the smartest minds in Westeros? No! She was lucky to have even met him at all. Remember that Qyburn first shows up during the War of the Five Kings when Robb Stark finds him barely alive. Qyburn became associated with the Lannisters after he took care of Jaime's infected arm. It's Qyburn who took control of Varys' little birds. It was Qyburn who turned the mountain into her personal zombie protector. It was Qyburn who found the stashes of wildfire and helped her plan the explosion. And it was Qyburn who introduced her to the dragon-killing scorpions that she would rely so heavily upon in the later seasons.
Puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound Bosch. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining. Curry way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining.
So if anyone should be smirking while sipping on some wine, it's Qyburn. Although there is one major plot hole with this episode. Due to the writing of seasons 6 and 7, Cersei just ascends to the crown with no one questioning anything. This would have never happened in the earlier seasons or the books. Had any other member of a royal family ascended to the throne after a massive explosion which killed off all their competitors, the other houses of Westeros would have rebelled. Especially when it's widely known that she was the one behind it. I mean, Hot Pie knew that it was her doing, and that boy hadn't left the kitchen in like 5 seasons.
You're pretty. Why don't you work on this problem back in the kitchen?
So yeah, verdict, smart plan, but not entirely her own. Are y'all ready? Are you? Good. It's time for her most idiotic plan of the entire series.
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
Betraying Jon, Dany, and the remaining living forces against the army of the dead.
I think I listened to Father for 40 years and learned nothing.
Yes, bitch. That's exactly what we think. So, let's put ourselves in the mindset of Cersei. Hey, all these people from across the globe, including the son of the man that I allowed my son to wrongfully imprison and execute, and a Targaryen invader who has 2 full-grown dragons, are all risking their lives to come meet me in King's Landing because a literal army of walking dead people is so massive that they want to work together with me. Then Tyrion, who's a wanted man, risks his life to convince her to help them. None of this would be happening unless the threat was greater than anything the world had ever seen. Hey, I know, I'll double-cross him. Let's see what Jaime thinks of this plan.
When the fighting in the north is over, someone wins. You understand that, don't you? If the dead win, they march south and kill us all. If the living win, and we've betrayed them, they march south and kill us all.
The Targaryens and the Starks already want to kill us all. Most of them will die in the north.
I faced them in the field. We can't beat them. We can't beat that dragon.
Verdict, literally the stupidest fucking idea possible. So what about the dreaded season 8?
Brother, what's that?
Cersei had never had an honest one-on-one conversation with Dany with just them two. For all she knows, she's exactly like her father, the Mad King. So why in the 7 hells would you provoke that person at every fucking turn? There's no way Cersei actually thought she was gonna win that war. Cersei was so lucky that Dany had started going throne drunk out of fear that people would want Jon to rule. Had Dany not been so impatient, they would have easily had a slow land campaign, avoiding the water and Cersei's only actual advantage in Euron's fleet. But expecting logic from the writing of season 8 is like expecting the Hound to go an episode without saying
Needle. Of course you named your sword.
Lots of people name their swords.
Lots of If any more words come pouring out your mouth. I bet his hair's greasier than Joffrey's. You think you're fooling anyone with that top knot? Bull. There's no divine justice, you dumb.
Another thing that season 8 did was it gave viewers the false impression that the forces of Dany and the Northerners were dwindled down to only a handful. Even after the Battle of Winterfell, they still had more than enough forces to siege King's Landing. Oh yeah, and the once again forgotten X factor of a literal fucking dragon. No amount of war elephants was going to change that outcome. When looking back at her actions in the later seasons, they just stick out like a sore thumb. And why is that? Well, because Cersei's a metaphorical dinosaur, a remnant of a long-forgotten era. Long-time Game of Thrones fans are aware that the show is broken up into 2 unofficial segments. The first being the War of the Five Kings, and the second being the Army of the Dead in the north.
Nice.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
My disappointment
is immeasurable.
Nice.
I mean, it's all right. This is cancer.
Most agreed this tonal shift happens sometime between seasons 4 and 5. At this point, all the major players in the War of the Five Kings are gone. Tywin Lannister, Robb Stark, Joffrey Baratheon, Renly Baratheon, all are dead.
Holy shit, he dead!
The Northerners are back home, the Starks are scattered, the Tullys are either dead or captured, Balon Greyjoy is still skulking around the Iron Islands smelling like ass, and Stannis Baratheon, the man with the actual best claim to the throne that we're aware of at the time, has abandoned his quest for the throne in favor of marching north. Cersei is a product of this now forgotten time period. She was a perfect fit for the scheming and planning, or in her case, poor planning, to be the one who sits on the world's most uncomfortable chair. She just has no place in these later seasons. She never changes. She never adapts. In season 1, she thought that smirking while sipping wine made her feel smart. In season 8, she thought that smirking while sipping wine made her feel smart. In season 1, Tywin tells Jaime that whoever wins the War of the Five Kings could establish a dynasty that lasts for 1,000 years. In season 7, Cersei literally tells Jaime that the winner of the upcoming war could establish a dynasty that lasts for 1,000 years. You see, she just never changes or adapts with the new direction of events. Now for the part that I've been waiting to get to. This is gonna ruffle a lot of feathers, but Cersei is a terrible mother. I know all of her fans use her being a mama bear as her one redeeming quality, that and her cheekbones, but she's really not a good mother at all. Let's get the big one out of the way first, Joffrey. I know what you're saying, but he was just born bad. But remember what Cersei said in season, I think it was 2 or maybe 3, I don't fucking know. Talking about Cersei so much is fucking with my brain. But she said that Joffrey was a happy baby, saying that he was always happy around her. This implies that she turned him into what he became. She spent his entire life raising him that he was a precious golden lion who never did anything wrong, and that he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, when he wanted, and just to make shit up and people will listen to it because he's the future king. Of course he turned into a monster, who wouldn't? She turned him into the world's most slappable monarch.
Oh, I can't stand the wailing of women. I'm telling Mother. How many bastards does he have running? You can't.
They're starving, you fool! All because of a war you started!
You're talking to a king!
And now I've struck a king. Did my hand fall from my wrist?
And before you try telling me that he couldn't be controlled once he was king, Tywin showed up and shut that shit down in like 5 minutes.
But I haven't been counseled.
You are being counseled at this very moment.
He wasn't some terrifying, uncontrollable monster. He was just a spoiled douche. So yeah, she f***ed up Joffrey pretty good. Now let's go to Myrcella. Sweet Myrcella. Surely she wasn't responsible for her death, right? Well, let's connect the dots. Myrcella died after being poisoned leaving Dorne. She was poisoned by Alaria Sand and the Sand Snakes. They poisoned her as revenge for the death of Oberyn. Oberyn died in a trial by combat against the Mountain. He volunteered to be Tyrion's champion because Cersei openly chose the Mountain as her champion. This was idiotic because he raped and killed Oberyn's sister after killing her children, something all the Lannisters knew about. Cersei knew of this history between the Martells and Lannisters, yet she was too small-minded to consider how terrible of an idea it was to make the Mountain her champion. Once again, her tiny brain was clouded by her illogical rage towards Tyrion. Had she just picked some other kind of well-renowned warrior, it's very unlikely that Oberyn would have even bothered being Tyrion's champion. So I think it's very fair to say that she was at least 50% responsible for Myrcella's death. Now it's time for the big elephant in the room, Tommen. God, who didn't feel bad for Tommen? Poor kid didn't deserve this. Who out there is going to tell me that Cersei wasn't 100% responsible for his death? You can't. Tommen died after piecing out and giving King's Landing a whole new meaning. He did this after watching the building that held his wife blow up, burning her swiftly and giving her ashes to the wind. When you combine this with the ever-mounting pressure Tommen had been feeling in his new role as a totally unprepared king, yeah, of course he took this route. Without Tywin to guide him, he was hopelessly lost in that position. Speaking of Tywin, remember when Cersei told Tyrion in season 7 that no one would have dared touch either Myrcella or Tommen had he been alive? We've already established that Cersei is the actual root cause of Tywin's demise. So this is just further confirmation that she's responsible for the deaths of all 3 of her children. So let's see. I debunked the myths of her intelligence, forward thinking, ability to adapt, and her role as a loving mother. Is there anything else I forgot to mention?
No, I covered everything.
Well, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you're still here, a like and a comment would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way towards helping the channel grow and reach more people. You can also ensure that you never miss out on any future content by hitting that subscribe button and making sure that your notifications are turned on. But for now, I'm going to get back to work in the next video, and thanks for watching, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.